Chapter 466. An Unexpected Accident. Myriad Island's Lord died. He died with his eyes wide open and a terrified expression on his face. The lords of the two camps were silent and they looked ambivalent. They had witnessed the events unfold. They were shocked to their core. A living man had become an ice sculpture in a moment and had shattered into pieces. It made their hair stand on end. They knew that Myriad Island's lord had been poisoned. When Dragon King Arrow pierced his skin, the poison on it had entered his body. But it was too ghastly. Myriad Island's lord, an advanced lord, had not been able to resist it and had died a swift and strange death. Even Jian Wushuang, who had used the poisoned arrow, sighed when he saw Myriad Island's lord's death. The icy heart poison is much more frightening than I thought. Jian Wushuang looked at the Dragon King Arrow in his hand. There was a hint of white on the point of Dragon King Arrow, which was the icy heart poison he had deliberately used. .bg container 63275 CC1F display. Flex direction. Column align items. Center justify content. Center Z index. 214-748-3647. Important icy heart poison was the most frightening venom that Jian Wushuang had encountered. When he had helped Leng Rushuang refine the icy heart poison in her body, he had obtained 12 drops of venom. He had applied 1 drop to the Dragon King Arrow as a secret weapon. The result was satisfying. While Jian Wushuang was killing Myriad Island's lord with the Dragon King bow and icy heart poison, nobody knew that there was a magnificent hall at the bottom of the cave mansion. Inside it, a skinny elder suddenly raised his head. Young Master's aura. Why does he have it? The skinny elder narrowed his eyes slightly as if he could see everything in the palace. Then he slowly stretched out his shriveled hand. The void beside the skinny elder tore unexpectedly like a piece of paper, revealing a huge wormhole. The skinny elder's palm stretched out of the wormhole. In the palace. After killing Demon Soul Lord and Myriad Island's lord, Jian Wushuang ordered the blood puppet to quickly pick up their interspatial rings. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the blood puppet back, and then looked around. He found that the lords of the two camps were staring at him with complex expressions on their faces. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and began to say something, but suddenly, an unexpected accident happened. Hum! An immaterial wave came from the void and immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. They were stunned by what they saw. The void collapsed without a sign and revealed a huge wormhole. From it, a shriveled hand stretched out and slowly grew larger. Soon, it became so immense that it covered the sky. Space and time froze. The lords were terrified. Simultaneously, they discovered with horror that they had lost their ability to act. Jian Wushuang also could not move at this moment. The hand seized Jian Wushuang as easily as if he were a toy. It then retreated back into the wormhole, which shrunk and disappeared. Calm was restored to the palace. However, the emotions of the lords present were turbulent. When they recovered, they realized that Jian Wushuang had disappeared with the huge hand. In the magnificent hall at the bottom of the cave mansion, the skinny elder slowly stretched his hand and pulled Jian Wushuang into the hall. Then he loosened his grip and threw him on the ground. Jian Wushuang struggled to stand up, still feeling dizzy. He had been in the palace, but he had been unexpectedly grasped by a giant hand and brought to this hall. The hand had suddenly appeared from the void, and seized him with such ease. He had been unable to struggle and resist. Even a marquis would have been unable to that. With mounting horror, Jian Wushuang looked around. He discovered that the palace was nearly identical to the one in which they battled for the interspatial rings. This included similarities in construction structure, size, and even the decorations. The only difference was that at the top of the hall, 2 men sat there instead of puppet fighters. They were both old men. One old man had white hair, a white beard and an ethereal appearance. The white robe he wore was covered with dust. The other was thin. The thunderbolt mark between his eyebrows stood out. Jian Wushuang frowned and looked at the 2 reclining figures. He could not feel their vitality. It was as though they had been dead for many years. Nevertheless, the thin elder suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Jian Wushuang. His eyes were cold and held ghostly flames. What? Jian Wushuang was greatly taken aback. He still could not feel any vitality from the thin elder. He should be dead. But now, it was him who seized me. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and immediately understood the situation. He bowed to the old man and said, "Respected elder, I am Jian Wushuang." The thin elder's strength was unfathomable. He was definitely an incredible super being. In front of him, Jian Wushuang did not dare to use the pseudonym of Swordsman. Jian Wushuang. The skinny elder stared at Jian Wushuang with his cold and strange eyes, but his voice was cordial. "I'm Di Jing." Hearing the name, Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat.
Di Jing.
Great demon, Di Jing. Chapter 467. War God Di Jing under the command of Emperor Xiao. All experts who had adventured in the flaming battlefield had heard of great demon Di Jing. After all, the flaming battlefield originated from him. 1,000 years ago, he had been attacked by 8 marquises and 322 lords on the flaming battlefield. Both sides had perished. The battle was a legend in divine land. Now this skinny elder claimed that he was great demon Di Jing. He caught me easily no matter how I struggled. His strength must be beyond that of marquises. A supreme expert like him who appeared on the flaming battlefield. Yes, he must be Di Jing. Jian Wushuang thought quickly. He recalled the legendary battle on the flaming battlefield 1,000 years ago. Di Jing had been assumed dead because he had disappeared, while the 8 marquises and 322 lords had died. However, no one had witnessed great demon Di Jing's death and his body had never been found. It was absolutely credible that Di Jing was still alive. Reflecting on the skinny elder's astonishing strength, Jian Wushuang was 90% sure that he was Di Jing. Knowing his identity, Jian Wushuang became uneasy. Di Jing had been recognized as the great demon 1,000 years ago because of the frantic slaughter he had wrought. That was why so many experts had launched a collaborative attack on him. As he stood before the great demon, Jian Wushuang was worried that Di Jing might kill him just because he disliked his appearance. .bg container 63275 CC1F display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important, or he might kill him just because he felt like it. If Di Jing wanted to kill him, Jian Wushuang would definitely be unable to resist. Jian Wushuang was on high alert. As though he had read Jian Wushuang's mind, Di Jing rolled his cold, strange eyes and snorted. "Rest assured. I'm not going to kill you for the moment." For the moment. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. "Boy, let me ask you something. You must answer honestly. If I'm satisfied with your answer, I may spare your life," Di Jing said coldly. "Please ask," Jian Wushuang calmly replied. He knew that Di Jing had seized him from among the experts in the cave mansion for a specific reason. "Boy, where did you get the icy heart poison venom?" Di Jing stared at Jian Wushuang. Icy heart poison venom. Jian Wushuang now understood that Di Jing's reasons for seizing him. With this in mind, he replied truthfully, "I obtained it by refining part of icy heart poison in someone's body." Refine. Di Jing was a little stunned. "You know how to refine icy heart poison?" "For some special reason, I can refine it, but only a very limited part," Jian Wushuang said. Di Jing continued to ask, "What's your relationship with the person with icy heart poison?" "Well," Jian Wushuang hesitated before answering, "we're sort of friends. She had once helped me, and I helped her to detoxify the poison, too." "I see," Di Jing nodded and murmured. "No wonder I can feel a young master's aura on you. I guess my young master has given you a pledge." "A pledge?" Jian Wushuang immediately recalled the jade slip which Leng Rushuang had given him. Leng Rushuang mentioned that he could break the jade slip when he was in danger. "Young master." Jian Wushuang looked at Di Jing with a strange expression on his face and asked, "She's your young master?" "Yes," Di Jing nodded. A faint smile appeared on his thin and sunken face. Di Jing continued, "Boy, stand closer." Jian Wushuang frowned and hesitated. "Boy, don't be afraid. Since my young master gave you her pledge, she must have a close relationship with you. Naturally, I won't kill you. In any case, if I did want to kill you, I'd be able to do it. Even if you're 1,000 miles away, Di Jing said with a smile. Recalling how Di Jing had seized him, Jian Wushuang forced a smile. Indeed, with Di Jing's incredible skills, he could kill him no matter where Jian Wushuang hid. Jian Wushuang shook off his hesitation and walked to stand in front of Di Jing. I haven't talked to anyone for over 1,000 years, Di Jing sighed. Over 1,000 years. Jian Wushuang was surprised. Have you stayed in this cave mansion for so long? That's right. Di Jing nodded and said with a sigh, I have been meditating on slaughter Dao. 1,000 years ago, something was wrong when I comprehended it. That was why I killed so many innocent people. Without any other options, I had to cultivate it in this cave mansion. I've been here for 1,000 years. Is that so? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Everyone on the flaming battlefield said that Di Jing was a great demon who had been addicted to slaughter. 1,000 years ago, he had massacred innumerable innocent people. Other experts had been enraged and had decided to band together to fight against him. No one knew the reason for Di Jing's crazy slaughter. It's rumored that you died together with those experts who attacked you, Jian Wushuang laughed. Died together with them? Those bugs? Di Jing sneered. Though I was affected by Heart Demon and could only use 1% of my strength, a group of bugs of Cloud Realm couldn't possibly harm me. Di Jing obviously did not think highly of Cloud Realm experts. Hearing that, Jian Wushuang was incredulous. Di Jing is definitely a super expert beyond the Cloud Realm. Probably, he's even stronger than the 10 sovereigns in Divine Land. I wonder whether he's stronger than the 3 ancestors. Jian Wushuang thought in horror. Since Di Jing was so powerful, how about Leng Rushuang, the young master of Di Jing? Jian Wushuang knew that Leng Rushuang's father was Di Jing's master. What incredible strength would Di Jing's master possess? Elder, may I ask who you and your young master are? Jian Wushuang could not help asking. You want to know? Di Jing glanced at him and smiled faintly. Listen. I am the 7th war god under the command of Emperor Xiao of Tang of the East. Chapter 468. Puppet Master. The 7th war god under the command of Emperor Xiao of Tang of the East. Jian Wushuang was astonished. He had heard of Tang of the East. It was a bloodthirsty kingdom on the Nanyang continent, where Jian Wushuang had adventured for some time. But he had never heard of Emperor Xiao of Tang of the East or the war gods. Why, don't you understand? Di Jing looked at him with great interest. Respected elder, I know the Tang of the East. I've only heard that there is a mysterious monarch, but I've never heard of Emperor Xiao or the war gods, Jian Wushuang frowned and said. The Tang of the East that you know is completely different from the one I mentioned, Di Jing laughed. The one you know was created by my master. As for the real one, you've never seen it. If you have an opportunity in the future, you'll know the prosperous Tang. Jian Wushuang was stunned speechless. The Tang of the East on the Nanyang continent was a slaughterous dynasty and country of death. But the Tang of the East mentioned by Di Jing was a prosperous world? Well, it's useless to explain to you, boy, Di Jing said with a wave of his hand. Jian Wushuang stopped speaking as his attention turned to the other figure in the hall. .bg container 63275 CC1F display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647, important elder, who is he? Jian Wushuang looked at the old man with white hair and beard, who had obviously been dead for many years. He was the owner of this cave mansion, Di Jing said. Owner of the cave mansion. Jian Wushuang was surprised. I thought it was constructed by you. Of course not. Di Jing said, curling his lips, I'm going to die. Why would I construct a cave mansion? He is puppet master. He seemed to have been famous in Divine Land. In the information he left, he claimed to be the first puppet maker in Divine Land. First puppet maker in Divine Land. Jian Wushuang was intrigued. This was extraordinary. Unfortunately, no matter how strong his puppets had been, his own life was limited. When I fought those Cloud Realm experts in the Flaming Mountains, I discovered the cave mansion, so I chose this place to cultivate in seclusion, said Di Jing. This hall is the real core of the cave mansion, where he left 4 opportunities for future experts. It shouldn't have been discovered yet. You're lucky that I brought you here. 4 opportunities. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up immediately. Boy, it's too early for you to get excited. The 4 opportunities are accompanied by tests. 3 tests are about making puppets, while I guess you're not good at it. Di Jing looked at him. As a powerful expert, who had stayed in the cave mansion for over 1,000 years, Di Jing knew everything in the cave mansion. Jian Wushuang smiled reluctantly. Making puppets. Not good at it. He knew nothing about it. That's just it. Although there are 4 opportunities, you can get 1 at most. Even then, I wonder if you're up to it, Di Jing sneered. Boy, come with me. At least there's still an opportunity. Half a loaf is better than no bread, said Jian Wushuang, as he shrugged. He followed Di Jing into a secret chamber next to the hall. The test is in the secret chamber, Di Jing said as he looked at Jian Wushuang. If you can pass this test, you'll get a good reward. Value the opportunity. Jian Wushuang forced a smile and stepped inside without a second thought. He saw a vacant ground with a towering figure in the center. A puppet fighter. Jian Wushuang was not surprised to see it. Puppet Master had claimed to be the first puppet maker in Divine Land and had constructed this cave mansion, filling it with puppet fighters. It was unsurprising that he would use a puppet fighter in his test. The puppet fighter immediately opened his eyes and looked at Jian Wushuang. The Saint Realm. The puppet fighter asked with a hint of surprise. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and said, a puppet fighter with intelligence. There were 2 types of puppet fighters, intelligent ones and non-intelligent ones. They were very different. Puppet fighters with intelligence were as smart as human beings, but they were usually not very strong. Puppet fighters without intelligence were much stronger. For example, Jian Wushuang's blood puppet and other puppet fighters he had met in the inner and outer layer of the cave mansion belonged to this type. Jian Wushuang had once met puppet fighters with intelligence, such as Jin Ling and Mu Shan in the Ancestors' Land. Human warrior, you're just a Saint Realm expert, so I'll restrain my battle strength to the Saint Realm level. As long as you defeat me, you can get the opportunity my master left in this secret chamber, the blonde puppet fighter in blue robes said. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly in acknowledgement. Are you ready? The blonde puppet stared at Jian Wushuang. As soon as he finished his words, he paused a second and then rushed forward. The blonde puppet bounced forward like a bomb. Simultaneously, a giant axe appeared in his hand. He swung it violently at Jian Wushuang as he made his approach. The giant axe cut the air with immense power and left a bright edge in the void. Nice axe skill, Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. He knew that puppet fighters with intelligence could use manual skills, unlike puppets that could only use physical strength. Jian Wushuang started to counterattack. He swept his sword up and blocked the axe shadow heading toward him. Clang! After the fierce collision, the blonde puppet continued to swing the giant axe in a flurry of attacks that oppressed Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang lifted his sword to resist as he thought in surprise. This puppet fighter's power is indeed of the Saint Realm level. However, his axe skill is extremely delicate. He's barely comparable to a novice lord. It was the test of Puppet Master. It would be impossible for a Saint Realm expert to defeat a puppet fighter of novice lord level. However, it was not difficult for Jian Wushuang, as he could easily fight against 2 intermediate lords at the same time. Jian Wushuang quickly started to attack. Chapter 469, 6-Story Pagoda. Swoosh! Bright sword light flashed like lightning and penetrated the void. The sword movement Jian Wushuang used was desperation. He used his force to violently break the blonde puppet's axe movements and knock him backwards. The blonde puppet regained his footing. There was a white mark on his body left by Jian Wushuang's sword. If he had been an ordinary lord, he would have been dead. You won. He looked at Jian Wushuang and threw a black flowing light to him. He said, "This is your reward for passing the test." Jian Wushuang caught it. As he inspected it, a strange expression flashed on his face. The black flowing light turned out to be a mini black pagoda with 6 stories, each of the same height. A pagoda. Jian Wushuang left the secret chamber. Doubts churned in his mind as he returned to the palace to meet Di Jing. "Not bad, boy," Di Jing smiled faintly. "Respected elder, is this pagoda the good thing you mentioned?" Jian Wushuang asked skeptically. "BG container 63275 CC1F display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important boy, don't be too greedy," Di Jing said as he looked at him. "It's called 6-story pagoda. It's definitely a good thing in divine land and it's useful to you." 6-story pagoda. Jian Wushuang whispered. "Try to bind to it," Di Jing said. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang used his blood to bind to it. He met no resistance from the black pagoda at all and finished the process quickly. Well, Jian Wushuang realized the difference after binding to it. He could clearly sense a restriction on the first story of the pagoda. It was very complex and enigmatic. At first glance, Jian Wushuang could feel it but not understand it. "What a mysterious restriction," Jian Wushuang sighed. Di Jing said, "Boy, there is a restriction on each story of the pagoda. They were all slaughter restrictions." "You've meditated on the slaughter origin, right?" Di Jing looked at Jian Wushuang. "Yes." Jian Wushuang nodded. He mainly meditated on 2 types of origin, world origin and slaughter origin. In the past, his comprehension of slaughter origin had been higher than that of world origin. After adventuring in Marquis Baymore Cave Mansion, his comprehension of world origin had vastly improved. He had formed 4 world origin marks and only 1 slaughter origin mark. "That's it." Di Jing responded with a smile and said, "The 6 restrictions are extremely profound and each contains 999 slaughter occults. Since you've meditated on slaughter origin, you can also meditate on these slaughter occults. The reference of the slaughter occults will greatly improve your speed in comprehending it. When you comprehend all 999 slaughter occults, you can unriddle the first restriction. Then, it'd mean that you've really entered the slaughter Dao." Jian Wushuang was stunned, but exhilaration soon took over. He turned to sense the first restriction in the pagoda and felt the existence of many slaughter occults. Most of them were new to Jian Wushuang. "No wonder you said that the 6-story pagoda is useful to me. It's such a great opportunity for me," Jian Wushuang said in gratitude. The first restriction was obviously a shortcut to the slaughter Dao. Dao. Beyond the origin was Dao. When comprehension of the origin reached the peak, the origin would naturally transfer into Dao. For example, slaughter origin would transfer into slaughter Dao when his comprehension reached an extremely high level. Dao was much more powerful than origin. That was why many experts and marquises would fight tooth and nail for the Dao weapon. Dao weapon was involved with Dao. However, Dao was too enigmatic. Even though the Marquis experts were strong, they were not qualified to have access to Dao. In Divine Land, only 10 sovereigns and 3 ancestors had entered the level of Dao. How extraordinary the 6-story pagoda was, that its first restriction alone could enable Jian Wushuang to enter the slaughter Dao. "Boy, you've won this advantage. Now I'll send you away," Di Jing said. "Thank you, respected elder," said Jian Wushuang. At the same time, he bowed to the puppet master. Di Jing raised his eyebrows. He waved his hand and a huge wormhole immediately appeared in the void in the hall. Di Jing's ease at creating such a huge wormhole shocked Jian Wushuang. The latter revised his estimation of Di Jing's strength. "Go in," Di Jing said. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang stepped into the wormhole and soon disappeared. After he had left, someone walked slowly out of the secret chamber. It was the blonde puppet who had fought with Jian Wushuang. He came to Di Jing in the hall and asked, "Sir, may I ask why you said your 6-story pagoda was my master's 4th test?" The blonde puppet was confused. Puppet Master, the owner of the cave mansion, had only set 3 tests, which were about making puppets. The opportunities after passing the tests were also about making puppets. The 4th test had actually been set by Di Jing just now. His purpose was obvious, that was, to give the 6-story pagoda to Jian Wushuang. Di Jing remained silent while he thought to himself. Young master is indifferent and doesn't trust others easily. Even I'm not qualified to get her pledge, but she gave him one. What's more, he can refine young master's icy heart poison. It's so incredible. He's of great use to young master, but he is too weak now. Di Jing had given the 6-story pagoda to Jian Wushuang to help him improve his strength as quickly as possible. He had concealed the truth about the 6-story pagoda's ownership because of his identity. It would be better to keep Jian Wushuang in the dark. Chapter 470. Disaster. Numerous lords from both sides had gathered in the palace. Now, they fled in terror. Run! Run! A forlorn voice reverberated through the palace. The lords escaped in a panic, in all directions. A red-haired middle-aged man who radiated a mighty aura was in the midst of a frenzied slaughter. He was the puppet fighter, who had sat on a throne at the front of the palace. He had kept to the sidelines until the gold-armored puppets and 4 golden-purple puppets had lost the ground. Now, he erupted into action with overwhelming strength and killed many lords from the 2 camps. Even superior lords, such as Black Yuan Lord, were frightened of him. The red-haired middle-aged man was a terrifying Marquis puppet. Let's go! Hurry up! Black Yuan Lord growled with a cold look. Behind him, many lords from Marquis Piashua camp were escaping swiftly. Thoughts of the Marquis puppet's interspatial ring were banished from their minds. .bg container 63275 CC1F display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647, important at this moment, buzz. An immaterial wave suddenly appeared in the surrounding area. A huge wormhole materialized and a figure slowly stepped out of it. Swordsman. Black Yuan Lord recognized him. Black Yuan Lord, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Jian Wushuang took in the situation. A red-haired middle-aged man stood in front of an advanced lord from the hostile camp. He casually slapped the lord, and the latter's head shattered. Oh! Jian Wushuang was terrified. How terrifying the puppet fighter is. He is much stronger than my blood puppet. With 10 blood gems, blood puppet could unleash its full strength, which was comparable to the battle strength of Marquis level. However, as a Marquis puppet, blood puppet was weaker than the red-haired middle-aged man. Blood puppet's power could not hold a candle to the puppet fighter. Puppet Master placed such a powerful puppet fighter in this palace? Jian Wushuang sighed to himself. Swordsman, run. Be quick. Iron Saber Lord shouted. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. He ran out of the palace with Black Yuan Lord and his other comrades. They continued to move toward the outer layer. Eventually, they arrived at the outer layer. They were able to take a brief respite and calm themselves. The puppet fighter is terrifying. He's so powerful that even a Marquis can't fight him. Iron Saber Lord sighed. What happened to this puppet fighter? When we were fighting the 4 golden purple puppets, he did not move. But when we defeated them, he began to attack us, Loftiness Lord said with a frown. Who knows? I guess the master of the cave mansion planned this. Silver Wing Lord curled his lips. Shut up. Black Yuan Lord shouted frostily as he looked at the other lords. Originally, Marquis Piashua camp had more than 50 lords in the palace. When the puppet fighter attacked, those lords had scattered and only a dozen lords had escaped. No one knew what had happened to the other lords. Jian Wushuang and his other comrades waited in the outer layer for half a day. Other lords trickled out of the inner layer in succession. More than 30 lords from their camp had survived. I've asked Spirit Lord to tell these lords to leave immediately. Half a day is long enough to escape, so those who haven't emerged must have died in there, Black Yuan Lord said, eyes narrowed. The other lords were filled with grief. It was a disaster for both camps to be attacked by the puppet fighter. Numerous lords had died in his hands. What a tragedy! Iron Saber Lord sighed as he shook his head. Lords were rare, and now they had lost dozens. Our camp has suffered a great loss, but Marquis Xianxia camp did not fare better. Black Yuan Lord looked toward the lords from Marquis Xianxia camp, who had gathered next to them. Less than 30 lords from Marquis Xianxia camp had gathered in the outer layer. It was clear that they had suffered heavy losses. Compared to their camp, we were lucky. After all, we gained much in the inner layer. We received a Dao weapon and grabbed 4 interspatial rings from the golden purple puppets. Each ring must hold numerous treasures. Black Yuan Lord smiled. Of course, it's all thanks to you, Swordsman. If you had not killed Demon Soul Lord and Myriad Islands Lord, we would not have obtained the 4 interspatial rings. Black Yuan Lord looked at Jian Wushuang. Demon Soul Lord and Myriad Islands Lord had led the lords from Marquis Xianxia camp in battle, but they had been killed by Jian Wushuang. Without leaders, those lords had been ineffective in their fight against Marquis Piaoxua camp. Right, Swordsman, you were taken away by someone, but then you returned suddenly. What on earth happened? Black Yuan Lord asked. The other lords from Marquis Piaoxua camp looked at Jian Wushuang in curiosity. They wondered where he had gone and what he had encountered after he had been unceremoniously grabbed by the giant hand. Jian Wushuang was prepared for this question. He raised his eyebrows and answered, I don't know what happened. I just know that an expert grabbed me and asked me for a drop of venom that I used to kill Myriad Islands Lord. Then he let me go.